the type of love that a person has to Hashem, that comes out of this das and out of this re'iyah chushiyis, a sensing kind of seeing. Like as if you are seeing it, chushiyis means you sense it, you can touch it, you can see it with your own eyes. It is so real. Good morning, good morning. Today is Chaf Aleph Shvat, and we are on page Kuf Ein Zayin, dedicating the shiur to the safety of Klal Yisrael, and especially the Chayalim and the Chayalot, the soldiers that are defending the Holy Land, and Refuah Shlema to all those who need it, and Mashiach now. We are in the middle of, all together in the middle of, in a discussion that leads to, that is focused on, obviously, on the relationship between Adam Lemata and the Adam Ha'elyon, and Isarusa de Letata and Isarusa de Le'ela, and what kind of hashpaos milemaila come in a manner that is part of our avoda, and what others come is just an isoirus, an awakening that comes and goes, and it depends on us what we do with it. Spoke about the avoda of Aaron, and now the Rebbe is extending the whole thing into the avoda of a person, beginning with the statement, Mishet Tarach be'erev Shabbos, Yochal b'Shabbos. The one that was laboring Erev Shabbos, he will eat on Shabbos. So then the Rebbe says that the main yagia and the main tircha, the main bother, the main toil is the avoida with the nefesh habahamis, is with our ego. And the Nefesh HaElokis, the Rebbe says, the Nefesh HaElokis is already mevurar, is already refined milamaila, and has no ra in it. However, we could see different statements in different places that there is ta'aruvos ra in the Nefesh. So where is that? What is that? So the Rebbe says it's not really ra. It's an avoida which is in the realm of das tachton, of a consciousness that is called das tachton, in which the existence of self is obvious and it's taken for granted, and the existence of a creator is something that we need to figure out. And therefore the avoida of that the tachton works from the perspective of Das Tachton is what the Rebbe calls avoida murgeshes. It's an avoida that is sensed, which means I am aware that I am serving Hashem. Avoida murgeshes. And from this avoida murgeshes, which means it's feeling oneself, that is dangerous. Because from there, could be a nika lechitzonim, could be a possibility that that type of energy will be used for ungodly pursuits. And so it all begins with a feeling of self. There is feeling of self itself is neutral, is not necessarily bad. However, from there it can be already that a person can fall into all kinds of foreign kinds of addictions, or into uncontrolled behavior like chaos, like anger. It depends what type of midah we're talking about. Like you see that from Avraham, Ishmael came out, and from Yitzchak, Esav came out. Even though both of them were in Kedusha. So the Nefesh HaElokis basically doesn't need birur, doesn't need refinement. And now to understand more, the Rebbe explains more this inyan of Das Tachton because it's very relevant to us. Why? Because the Rebbe will say that there are two kinds of nefashos. There's Zera Adam and Zera Behema. There's nefashos of Atzilus, that they are rare, they're not common. These are the Zera Adam. And there are most of the nefashos which are the Biyah, which is the difference between Das Elyon and Das Tachton. In Das Elyon, the given thing is Elokus. That godliness is a given. Godliness is obvious. Worlds, anything but godliness has to be figured out. So the bitul is a different kind of bitul. The Das Elyon comes along with bitul b'metzius, with an existential bitul. And Das Tachton comes with bitul hayesh. It's not an existential bitul. There is a yesh, and there's this yesh, mostly based on cognition, on tam v'das, is choosing to mevatel itself to its creator, to its maker. So that's Das Tachton. Rov of the neshamos belong to that kind of perception. So let's learn a little bit inside. We are on page Kuf Ein Zayin, which is Kuf Lamed Gimel in the old edition, second line. Uchlalus b'chinas das tachton hu inyan bitul hayesh levad. Generally, the inyan of das tachton, of the lower kind of consciousness, is bitul hayesh only, she'im heyoso batel areu b'chinas yesh al kol panim cholu. That even though, yes, there is a inyan of bitul there, but there is a yesh. There is a yesh, a feeling of a self separate from its source, and this yesh is choosing to mevatel itself. So gam vegam etzem habitul, and also what is the nature habitul of the bitul? The bitul itself, the das tachton, dalet taf is das tachton, who al pi tam v'das, is according to logic, according to perception, to logical perception, kayadua as known. וכנגד das דקדושה יש das דלאום הזה. When it comes to tam v'das, to reasoning, there, just as there is logic of kedusha, there can be logic could be used also to justify klipa. So just as there is awareness in kedusha, there could be an awareness of klipa. והיינו, מה שלפעמים בוחר על ידי הדעת שלו הטוב דקדושה, כשמכיר את בוראו כי הוא חייך חולו, ולפעמים בוחר בדעתו חס ושלום להפך חולו. We see that sometimes one chooses through his own mind and consciousness the good of holiness when he recognizes his maker and he recognizes and we recognize that our creator is our life and so on. But sometimes it happens that we choose b'da'ato chas v'shalom le'eper, that he is investing in his mind and his attachment and his personal interest in something which is ungodly. Happens. והגם שזה שבוחר חס ושלום להפך, אין זה מהדעת דקדושה, כי אם מדעת דלאום הזה חולו. Even though when a person, chas v'shalom, chooses the opposite of the awareness of kedusha, and he is pursuing something in klipa, which means it comes from das of leumat ze, of das of klipa, mikol makom, nevertheless, מה שיש מקום לדעת ללאום הזה, זהו לפי שכללוס עבודתו הוא על פי הדעת דווקא. The fact that there is room for das of le'um hazeh, awareness and attachment to ungodliness. The fact that there is a possibility for such type of consciousness to be accepted and to be their experience is because the general type of his avoida is al pi hadas dafka, is according to his perception or understanding. So when the Rebbe says that when the serving of Hashem is based on one's understanding and logic, then this itself gives room and makes it possible to das of klipa to take over. Because really, the kasher ha'avoda hi bivchina shel lemala mitam v'das, when the avoda is in a manner of higher than tam v'das, which means, I remember when I was little, sometimes I used to ask my mother when I used to watch her kashering a chicken or whatever, salting something. And I said, Ima, lama at osa et ze? Why are you doing it, this? So certain things, I don't remember dafka this question, but certain things she used to say to me, this is how I saw it at my home when I grew up, and this is how I'm doing it my own home. There's no reason. You don't need a reason. It's good enough, the way it is. We are Yidden, this is how we do it. This is like, we're serving Hashem, b'vchina shel lemala mitam v'das. Not everything has to be based on the logical process of our own perception, because that always leaves room to a logic that would lead a person to find out that something that is the opposite of godliness could also make sense at a certain time. הלא אין מקום להבחירה דדס ואין שייך שיבחור חס ושלום במה שהוא ההפך מאלוקוס. When we are serving Hashem in a manner of למעלה מטעם ודס, in the manner of so it is, then it's not shayach, the one would choose something which is opposite to Velokus. It's not debatable. אבל כאשר העבודה היא על פי הדס, הנה כשם שיש דס לקדושה, להבין את הטוב לאלוקוס, כמו כן יש דס ללאום הזה, להבין את הטוב ללאום הזה. So when the avoida is according to the logical calculation, then just as there is a das of Kedusha to understand and figure out the tov, the truthful, and the goodness of Elokus, so too there is das of Leumazeh, of Klipa, to understand the good of that which is ungodly. Venimtza, so we find, who is preparing Chazara's questions for next time, please? Bam, 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 bam. Thank you, Peggy. Thank you. ונמצא, so we find, דמה שהאבוידה היא על פי טעם ודס, היא שגרמה ונוסנת מקום לבחינת דס דלאום הזה כולו. The Rebbe says that this itself, that when one bases his avoida on his logic, on his perception, and on his awareness, this itself causes and creates room for das of leumazeh. This is very strong words. The Rebbe says, you should. So it's, in other words, avoid serving Hashem based on your understanding. We want and we should and we are expected to understand as much as possible. But this is not the base. This is not the foundation on which we build our relationship with Hashem. ומכל מקום, and in any case, זהו דווקא בבחינת דאס תחתון. All this, that we have room for the leumazeh and so on, and there is possibility for Ra to come in, this is all in das tachton. In the lower level of consciousness, the level of consciousness of the created world. Bia, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. אבל בדאס עליון, but in a higher perspective, divine perspective, which is basically Atzilus, הגם שזהו גם כן avoida בבחינת דאס, even though this avoida also involves consciousness and awareness, אלא שהידיעה היא בבחינת עצמוס אור אין סוף. But the knowing here is a different kind of knowing. The knowing here is knowing Elokus itself. ואין זה בחינת ידיעה שכלית ממש. This is not a mental knowing. This is not a logical knowing. כי אם בחינת הכרה והרגשה חולו. Rather, this is a different kind of knowing, which is הכרה והרגשה, which means it's a sensing, recognizing. It's not a mental process. So the Das Elyon, there is a sensing and recognizing of Elokus. ונדבק ונתבטל ממש באלוקוס. And when a person has that perspective, he's completely attaching himself, he's glued, to mamash, completely annul himself into Elokus. So go back from before the parenthesis, if it was Aval Bedas Elyon, you see? Aval Bedas Elyon, when we're coming to the higher perspective of Das Elyon, Ein Makom Klal Chas V'Shalom Libchinas Das De'Leum Hazeh. From the perspective of Atzilus, there is no room at all to Das of Leum Hazeh, of Klippa. Liyos the Das Elyon hu inyan b'chinas habitul b'metzius chulu. Because Das Elyon, in Das Elyon, one is in a state of existential bitul, his entire self, and therefore there is no room at all to something which opposes Elokus to become in a metzius in his reality. Mashe'en ken Das Tachton, which is not the case regarding the lower level of consciousness, hu b'chinas yesh adayin. So it could be a recognizing of Elokus. However, who is recognizing Elokus? There is a yesh. The premise, the first initial experience is the recognition of self. And then this self figures out that there is a creator. So he yesh adayin, he's still a yesh, he still feels itself as a yesh, ולכן נותן מקום. And therefore, once there is a yesh, as the beginning of this discussion, there's a hergeshu inyan hayeshus. That when we sense that we are working, that means that we are sensing ourselves. And one is sensing themselves separate from a source that is already problematic. וזהו עניין תערובוס רע שבנפשו. This is the mixture of ra in his nefesh, meaning the feeling of self. That's the beginning of the possibility of something which will lead to ungodliness. אבל לא שיש חס ושלום תערובוס רע ממש בנפש חולו. Not that there is really a mixture of evil, a real evil, no. The Nefesh HaElokis does not need rectification, says the Rebbe. וגם זה, and also this, that there could be, because of Das Tachton, there could be that eventually, like it happened to Avraham Avinu and like it happened to Yitzchak Avinu. But this, still, the Rebbe says, גם זה דווקא בנשמות דזרע בהמה. This is only in neshamos of zera behema. That of what are neshamos of zera behema? V'hainu neshamos debiyah. Neshamos of bria, yetzira, and asiya. שהדעת שבהם הוא בחינת דעת תחתון כידוע. That the דעת of neshamos of biyah is the lower level of consciousness, which is called Das Tachton, which means that the premise is that I exist, And now I realize that I have a creator, and I decide or don't decide to battle to this creator. And this is, והיינו כמו כללוס ההפרש בין הבירור דעולם האצילוס להבירור דעולמוס בייה. This is the general difference between the refinement of the world of Atzilus versus the refinement of the world of Biyah, as we will discuss. Now I want to go to footnote number 93, which is in Torah or Mishpatim. I posted it on the chat to see a little bit about Zera Adam and Zera Behema, that there are two types of neshamot. That the neshamot of the tzaddikim, which is Zera Adam, and then the neshamot of the others. So we can start on page 148, Parashas Mishpatim. You see the bottom, the right side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think 6 lines from the beginning of Ve'ele HaMishpatim. Dehi neksiv. Dehi neksiv ונשאתי עשב בשדך לבהמתך, שזה קאי על מוישה רבנו עליו השלום, שמשפיע בחינס עשב לבהמתך. When it says ונשאתי, I will give עשב, grass, לבהמתך, to your beast, to your animal, in your field, this refers, who is giving this עשב, who is this feeder that gives the grass, is Moshe Rabbeinu, alav hashalom, who is mashpia, the inyan of עשב, which עשב, the inyan of das, we will see, לבהמתך, to the behema. So what does that mean? והעניין דכתיב וזרעתי את בית ישראל זרע אדם וזרע בהמה. I have to look in the back to see, it's one of the Nevi'im. I will sow the house of Israel, zera with seed of Adam, and zera behema, and seed of behema. Sheyesh beis madregos beneshamos Israel. There are 2 levels of Jewish neshamos, Jewish souls. האחד הם הנשמות הגבוהות מאוד במעלה ומדרגה, והם הנקראים זרע אדם, or nikraos zera adam. So these are the very high exalted souls in level, in quality and in level, and they are called the seed of men, zera adam. שהם הנשמות שנמשכו מבחינת אדם העליון שעל הכיסא כנ"ל. These are the neshamos that are drawn from the divine man that is on top of the kiseh. If the kiseh will be bria, the Adam she'al hakiseh will be Atzilus. So these are neshamos of Atzilus. דכתיב נעשה אדם בצלמנו כדמותנו. As Hashem says, let's make man in our image. והיינו neshamos d'Atzilus. These are neshamos of Atzilus. These are neshamos of great tzaddikim. והם הנקראות בנים. These are neshamos that are called children. So there are neshamos that are called banim, the children of God, and there are neshamos that are called avadim, the servants of God. So the neshamos of Atzilus are called the banim, the children of God. מה שאין כן neshamos דבריאה יצירה עשייה נקראות עבדים, which is not the case of neshamos of Bria and Yetzira and Asiya, the created worlds. They are called avadim, servants of Hashem. Vezeu im kevanim im ka'avadim, as we say in our prayers, whether it is as children or as servants. Vahainu, it depends what kinds of neshamos we're talking about. Vahainu kemo shema'alas ha'adam sheyesh lo das. Just as the virtue of man is, a human being is, that he has das, that he has awareness and consciousness, כך אלו הנשמות יש להם דאס גדול באלוקוס. So too these neshamas, they have great awareness in Elokus. So bichlal, just as we see the maila of a human being over an animal, that a human being has a consciousness that an animal does not have, that has a human being has an awareness of reality that an animal does not have, and he has a mental process ability that the animal doesn't have, and so on. This is regarding this world. So too the neshamas that developed awareness that they have is awareness of Elokus, of divinity, of godliness. And what does it mean, awareness? ופירוש דאס, אין רוצה לומר הידיעה לבד. It doesn't mean knowing that God is there. No, אלא בחינת הרגשה ממש, וכמו שהסבהר. It's mamash a feeling and a sensing the presence of God. It's not just knowing that there is God, it's sensing its presence. So these are the first types of neshamos. Neshamos that are called zera adam. והבייס הוא בחינת זרע בהמה. The second type of souls is zera behema, והיינו neshamos דבייה. These are neshamos of בריאה יצירה ונסיעה, שהם כמעט כל הנשמות שבדורותינו. These are almost all the neshamos in our generations. כי נשמות דאצילוס הן בני עלייה שהם מועטים חולו, אפילו בדורות הראשונים. Because neshamos of Atzilus, these are very exalted neshamos that are very, very few, even in the older generations that were on a higher level spiritually. Even then, they were very, very select, very, very few. שהם הנשמות שאין להם דאס כל כך באלוקוס. זרע בהמה is the neshamos that do not have such an awareness of Elokus, such consciousness and awareness of Elokus. There is no awareness of Elokus. ואין רוצה לומר שאין להם שכל והשגה באלוקוס. And so too here. It doesn't mean that the neshamos of Biyah do not have understanding and knowledge in divine subjects. Of course, especially in the higher world, in the spiritual worlds. אלא אף גם שיש להם שכל והשגה, שמשיגים ומשכילים גדולת הבורא יתברך. So even though you're talking about souls from Biyah that can have great sechel and great understanding of Elokus, but even though they have great understanding and great grasping and understanding and being able to conceptualize the greatness of the Creator, and they do it מפי ספרים ומפי סופרים, השגה והבנה גדולה, איך שהקדוש ברוך הוא מחיה ומהווה הכל, ושל גדולתו אין חקר. And really mentally there are nefashos of Biyah that really understand, and they have a great mind and great concentration and great understanding to understand how HaKadosh Baruch Hu animates everything, how he creates everything, and how you, with the sechel, with their mind, they can really understand that there is no measure to the greatness of Hashem. So you're talking about great neshamos that can have great understanding, great minds. However, אך שאין זה בבחינת דאס והרגשה בנפשו. It's an understanding, but it's not das and hargasha. It's not a sensing. It's not a das in the manner of sensing the presence of it. It's just knowing about it. And there could be great knowing, great study about it. But it's not sensing. Das is sensing. לכן נקראים בהמה, או נקראות בהמה. Therefore, these neshamos are called zera behema. Why? Why our neshamos are called zera behema? Because behema en la das. It doesn't really connect with what it sees, is what is in front of it. It doesn't process it. שהבהמה יש לה ראייה ושמיעה חולו. The behema can see and can hear, רק שאין לה das. But it doesn't have the das to process things and to figure out things and to... כך הוא בחינס נשמוס אלו, שאין בהם בחינס הדס באלוקוס. So, you know, you can see a whole bunch of behemoths walking over, let's say there is a log of wood, and the behemoths will see it. They will see the log of wood, and they triple over, and they go over it, and they trip on it. Like en badas, it doesn't give me words for das. The behema doesn't have an awareness. Kachu b'chinas neshamos elu, so are these neshamos of biyah she'ein bahem b'chinas hadas be'elokus, that they don't have an awareness and a sensing of godliness. Shehadas hu b'chinas hargasha. Das is a sensing, feeling. כשההשכלה נקשרת, as you said, Ruchama, I think, internalized, שההשכלה, when the concept is now נקשרת ונקבעה בנפשו, when the knowing is now attached and fixed into his soul, כאילו מרגיש, as if now he senses it. Not just he knows about it, he senses it. כי דאס מלשון והאדם ידע. דאס means to become one with, to attach, to personalize, to connect. שהוא בחינס התקשרוס והתחברוס. That you're personally connecting to what you know. Then it becoming a sensing. It becomes your reality. והדרך זה נאמר, ומבשרי יחזה אלוקה, יחזה ממש, כאילו רואה חולו. And about this, one of you, I think, Tzipi, you said experience. The many times Hasidus uses this pasuk, I think it's from Eov, from my own flesh I will witness the divine. יחזה ממש, כאילו רואה. Because I experience, from my own experience, I can, if I experience it, then it's as if I'm seeing it. Right. ואף על פי שאי אפשר לראות האלוקים בעין הגשמי, even though we cannot see God with the physical eyes, obviously, מכל מקום הוא הדרך שהאדם יודע ומרגיש בנפשו אשר בקרבו, שגם כן אי אפשר לראות מהות הנפש, איך ומהו, even though we cannot see God with physical eyes, like other things that we can verify when we look at them with our physical eyes, nevertheless, it is a knowing that is experiential, as Tzipi said before. It's like the Rebbe says, how a person knows and senses his own soul. We all know that we have a soul. We all feel that we are alive. We can see the difference, and we can tell that there is a soul that animates our body. So we can feel the chayus within ourselves, ונפשו אשר בקרבו, שגם כן אי אפשר לראות מהות הנפש, איך ומהו. We don't see what the nefesh is, we don't know what it is and how it is, nothing. But we know it is, we know we are alive, and we can tell the difference if a person is alive or not. מכל מקום הוא נרגש ממנה. Nevertheless, a person can sense his soul, even though we don't really know what it is, but we can sense it. על ידי שרואה חיוס הגוף, by seeing that the body is alive. One can sense that there is a soul there. שהוא מהנפש, that the חיוס of the גוף comes from the soul. וכאשר ישן, and when a person is sleeping, מסתלק החיוס. this vitality goes away, which means part of the nefesh leaves the body. וכשנאור משנתו, and when a person awakes, תשוב אליו גילוי אור וחיוס הנפש. The גילוי אור and the chayos, the vitality of the nefesh returns to him. כך על דרך זה ממש הוא בחינת הדס באלוקוס שיש לנשמות דאצילוס. So mamash is the das, is the awareness of Elokus and the experience of Elokus that the neshamos of Atzilus have. כמאמר איוב ומבשרי יחזה, as just as my own flesh I can see and witness that I have a soul. והגם דלייס מחשב התפיסה בכלל, and even though, so too, I didn't finish the sentence, so too, the neshamos realize and sense the presence of Hashem. There is no machshava, there is no thought that can grasp the Ein Sof. No thought can grasp and understand the Ein Sof. Meaning, Hainu, שמאוסו אינו מושג, that what Elokus is not understood, אבל מציאוסו נודע ונרגש, but its existence is known and is sensed. מה שאנו רואים שהעולמות הם כמו גוף גדול. We see that the worlds are like a big body that is animated by a power that is obviously Elokus. So the worlds are like a big body, הם חיים וקיימים. They are animated, so there is a force that animates them, and they are kayamim, they exist. That means that there is something that brought them to existence. And Yeshu says it's more, nothing makes itself. והרי חיוס זה בהם הוא מאין סוף ברוך הוא השופע בהן בכל רגע. And this chayus, this vitality that animates them flows in them from the infinite that flows in them every moment. This is what animates us. והשכלה זו מושגת לכל. This awareness is understood by all. אך כשהיא מתקשרת בנפש, שיהיה נקשר ונרגש ממנה ממש, כאילו רואה, but when it's not just knowing and understanding that, rather, when it is so embedded now in the nefesh, this awareness, that now the person is becoming one with this awareness, and he is sensing Elokus, as if he actually sees Elokus in his own eyes. Then I'm on top of Ein Hey. זה נקרא בחינת דאס. This is called דאס, the awareness, the sensing. ועל זה אמרו, איזו חכם הרואה את הנולד. About this, the חכמים say, who is the חכם? The one that can see the נולד, that which is created, born. כאילו רואה בעין ממש, הולדס ויסהבוס היש מאין. And he is so one with this awareness that it's as if he actually sees in his eyes the coming to existence of whatever it is, יש מאין. ועל זה נאמר, והשם עליהם יראיכו לו. About this, such a level of awareness of neshamos, the higher neshamos, it says that עליהם, upon them, Hashem appears, Hashem shows up, Hashem shows himself, Yerai will be seen. They see Elokus. מה שאין כן כשאין השכלה והבנה זו, בבחינת קירוב והרגשה ממש בנפש, which is not the case when this knowing and this understanding is not intimately integrated in the nefesh, mamash. It's a knowing, we know about it, we know it, we can stay, we can even let the claim, how do you say, we can spit it back, we can use the same phrases, the same words, we can say the same things, but it's not an awareness, it's like sensing it and seeing it. This is called, נקראת בחינה זו, זרע בהמה. This awareness, this level is called the seed of בהמה, ואף שיש לו שכל והשגה גדולה באלוקוס, even though one could have a great intellect and great understanding in אלוקוס, וגם כל ישראל מאמינים כולו, באמונה, והאמונה היא למעלה מן הדעת. So it could be a person who has a great intellect and understanding, and also Bnei Israel are מאמינים, everyone has faith, and if faith is higher than understanding, higher than awareness, מכל מקום, nevertheless, הוא נקרא עטרה. This knowing is called a crown. It's makif. It's not internalized. It's not experiential. שהוא בחינת מקיף, וצריך להיות גם כן בחינת דעת. It remains מקיף. נשמת בהמה is, yes we know, we learn about it every day, we try to be aware, but it remains makif. This is not the normal sensing of reality that we have, that it is אלוקות. It remains makif. וצריך להיות בחינת דעת. There has to be also דעת, an actual sensing. כמו שכתוב, דעת אלוקי אביך. We are commanded to know in a manner of internalizing this knowing, the God of your Father. כי על ידי הדעת, על ידי זה אין העולם מסתיר להם כלל. Because it is through דעת, and we can work on דעת and awareness and consciousness by reflecting, by meditating. Through that, and personalizing the knowledge that we have, what it means to me. Through that, this brings the person to a state that the world does not block and does not cover up the truth anymore, כלל. וגם האהבה שהיא באה מבחינת הדעת וראייה חושית, אין ארוך עליה כולו. And also, the type of love that a person has to Hashem, that comes out of this das and out of this re'iyah chushiyis, a sensing kind of seeing. Like as if you are seeing it, chushiyis means you sense it, you can touch it, you can see it with your, as if you can see it with your own eyes. It is so real, chushiyis, so tangible, chushiyis. It is so, it's a knowing that is so tangible that it's you are looking at it. And that is experiential. Ein aroch alea. The love that is born out of that type of relationship and recognition of divinity, the love that is born, nothing can be compared to it. Also in terms of its realness. It's a real love. It's a real love. It's not a conceptual love. It's not a love that is based on ideas. וכן היראה, and also the awe and the fear. כי אינו דומה שמיעה לראייה, because hearing is not similar to seeing. And when there is das, it's like seeing. Something becomes so real. And now there is an interjection here, ופירוש ראייה הוא על פי מאמר הז"ל להסתכל בשלושה דברים. הסתכל דווקא בבחינת ראייה בעין השכל, כמו אדם המבין בחוכמתו ורואה שיבוא עליו איזה דבר טוב או רע, אף על פי שרחוק הזמן שיבוא הדבר, הנה מפני הסתכלות שכלו הוא כאילו רואה מיד בעיניו, וכאילו הובא עליו, ומסיירא מאוד אם רעו, או שמח אם טובו. So, the Chazal, when they tell us, הסתכל בשלושה דברים, look at three things, מאין באת, and so on, the instruction is הסתכל, look, examine, look, see. דווקא בבחינת ראייה. Look at it in a manner of ראייה. Look, really gaze at it. בעין השכל, with the eye of your mind. Look at this knowledge with the eye of your mind. Stare at it. כמו אדם המבין בחוכמתו ורואה, like a person who is staring about a certain idea, a certain knowledge, a certain information that he has, and he sees, as he is thinking about it and staring at it, he sees שיבוא עליו איזה דבר טוב או רע. He sees, he figures, when he is like really present to this inyan, he sees that either something good will come out of it on him or something bad. And therefore, even though the Rebbe says that it's not something that is happening right now, it will be in the future. But he is now already afraid of that if it's a bad thing, he's already afraid of it now. And if it's a good thing, he's already Samech with it now, as if it's happening now, even though it's not going to, maybe it's in 2 weeks. He's figuring what's going to come out, but it's not happening now. But he is now, his mind is looking at it so in such a real way that for him, it's as if it happens now. He already figured it out. And therefore he feels it now, he senses it now, he experiences it now. This is Re'iyah. This is the level of Re'iyah, which the Neshamas of Adam have. Aval B'china Shmiya, but hearing is something else. It's not making it as real as seeing. דהיינו בחינת תסבוננוס בלבד במחשבה עמוקה, כמו אם שומע מאחרים שיבוא הדבר, לא ייפול עליו כל כך היראה או השמחה מהדבר, מפני שאין עדיין הדבר בהסגלוס גמור, אף על פי שמתבונן בו, אינו כאילו רואה בעיניו מה משכו לו. The shmiya, the hearing, is not like seeing. And therefore, his reaction to hearing is something far. It's not like something that is so real that he can see it as if it's happening now. There is a distance in the experience of hearing versus seeing. וזהו שאמר, הסתכל בשלושה דברים. That's why Chazal say, look at three things, שיהיה עניין הסבוננוס אלוקוס אצלו, כאדם המבין בחוכמתו ורואה הדבר, אף על פי שרחוק. Because the way to relate to Elokus is such an isbonanus, which should be in a manner of as if he is seeing it. Chokhmah is in of seeing, of Riyah. And he sees it even though it's far. כי איזהו חכם הרואה את הנולד, מה שאין כן מבחינת שמיע הוא מבחינת בינה. Shmiya is not coming from Chokhmah. Chokhmah is like seeing. Shmiya is like hearing, is like from far. היינו שמבין אחדות השם, איך שכל אחד וכל העולמות בטלים ומבוטלים כעין נגדו, ושהכל בהשפעת חיוסו יתברך, ובו אין שינוי חולו כידוע. That means that in his mind, in his bina, a person understands that Achdus Hashem, how everything is one, and how all the worlds are battled to Hashem, and they're all insignificant in comparison to Hashem, and everything receives its life from Hashem, and even though everything is animated, created and animated by Hashem, Hashem doesn't change because of it, אין שינוי, as known. The holy and of Achdus Hashem, אף על פי שמתבונן בו הדק היטב, וכל עומק מחשבתו טרוד בה, והרי נקבעה אמונה בליבו מאוד. Even though the level of Bina also he could be misborn and think a lot, and invest his mind very deeply, and to be engaged completely in understanding, and also to make sure that he is verifying that he trusts and believes in it, and so on. So there is a lot of mental concentration and understanding here. Nevertheless, מכל מקום הוא רק על דרך שמיעה והבנה לבד. He only processes it in a manner of hearing it and understanding it, but not like seeing it. ואין העניין בהסגלוס גמור, כאילו רואה בעיניו. And therefore, this matter, in this case, Elokus, is not completely revealed to him as if he is seeing it with his eyes. ולפיכך, כשיסיר מחשבתו, אף לפי רגע, פונה לדרכי תאווסיה כולו. And therefore, what is the result of the conduct of a nefesh from Zera Behema? That he could be that the time that he is engaged with his thought in divine subject, he will be very engaged and very and understand and go far with his intellectually. However, the moment he will remove his mind from this matter, he could go back to Taivos, and that the Nefesh has, Nefesh Abahami says, is עניין of this world. מה שאין כן כשעניין האחדוס בהסתכלות חוכמה, שהוא מקור הבינה, קודם שיבוא העניין להסבוננוס והרחבה, הוא ממש כמו ראי עשה עיניים, ואי אפשר לו בשום אופן להסיר מחשבתו. This was Bina. On the level of Chokhmah, is such an understanding that it's like seeing it. Chokhmah is the source of Bina. In Chokhmah, it's like seeing it, and seeing it, it means that the person cannot remove his mind from it. He cannot forget it. He's like seeing it all the time in Chokhmah. In Bina, he can think about it, can even meditate on it, and then he forgets about it. In Chokhmah, no, it's like seeing it. And when you're just seeing it, it's there. Cannot remove his mind and the Chol HaMidos and all these personal reactions Minyan HaAchdus, from Achdus of Hashem, from the presence of the oneness of Hashem. Uvechol HaSiyosa V'Inyanav, and this is the difference between like Bria and Atzilus. Bria is like hearing, like Shmiya, is Seichel, intellect, and Atzilus is like seeing. So in V'chol HaSiyosa, when a person who is like seeing godliness in all his doings, Davuk Bo Yisbarach, Dveikus Nifla. He is attached to Hashem in a tremendous attachment. Mipnei Yosor Ro'eh HaMelech B'einav, because he constantly sees the king in his own eyes. So he can't remove his mind from it. So everything that he does is with this awareness. It's right here, Elokus is present. Vezehu Bizman Kabbalas HaTorah. This was how everyone experienced it at the time of receiving of the Torah. V'chol ha'am ro'im es hakolos, all the people saw the sounds. V'chol ha'am ro'im es hakolos, all the people saw the sounds. Re'iyah, sounds is shmiya, but they saw the sounds. Re'iyah, ro'im es hanishma. They saw that which is heard. ולאחר שחטאו, that was their condition. By Matan Torah, they were all like Zera Adam. They were all experiencing Elokus, like on the level of Atzilus, like seeing God right there in front of you. But שאחר שחטאו, after they sinned, הורידו מבחינה זו לבחינה שמיע. הורידה. They lowered the level from the soul from that level to b'china shmiya, of seeing to hearing. Shehi b'chinas bina, which is bina. Ve'achlu lachto. And now it's possible to sin. As we learned before, that if one basis is avoided on tam v'das, on intellect, on bina, then there is possibility for יניקס החיצונים. נמצא, חוכמה הוא בחינס ריאה. So חוכמה is seeing, ובינה is שמיעה. And בינה is hearing. ונודע, ואבא מקנן באצילוס, ובינה בבריאה. לכן הנשמות דבריאה, אין בהם בחינס ראייה, רק שמיעה והבנה. We know that אבא מקנן באצילוס, Abba, which means Chokhmah, dwells in Atzilus, and Bina dwells in Bria, and therefore the Neshamos of Bria, they don't have Re'iyah, they don't have seeing, they only have hearing and understanding. Ve'al ken nikra zera be'ema, and therefore the Neshamos of Bria, and lower than Bria, for sure, are called zera be'ema. Ma she'en ken Neshamos de Atzilus. which is not the case of Neshamos of Atzilus. Sham gilui b'chinas chokhma uvereia, v'nikra zera adam chulu. There is the gilui of the aspect of chokhma and seeing, and it's called zera adam. והנה בחינת הממוצס המחבר ומזווג חוכמה עם בינה הוא הדס. What is the bridge that connects Chokhmah and Bina? That the Bina shouldn't be deprived of the seeing. That the seeing should affect Bina. That the Bina should have the chayus as if it sees. The Das is the bridge, the connector. Das hu lashon hiskashrus. Das is connection. כמו והאדם ידע, like Adam connected with Chava. דהיינו שיהיה מקושר בעומק נקודת הלב במחשבת הבינה שמתבונן. That means that it should be connected with the depth of the nekuda, of the point of the innermost point of the heart, in this thought of bina, on what he is reflecting, מה שאין כן בינה לבדה, which is not so bina plain, bina alone, he היות העניין במחשבה לבד. Bina leaves it theoretical. Bina, if it's Bina alone, it will remain a concept in one's thought. It will not become real, necessarily. But if we are misboinen בעומק, נקודת הלב, one can bring it deeper. ואין נוגע לעצמוסו, when it just on the level of Bina, it doesn't nogea, it doesn't touch the essence of the person, דהיינו לליבו, it means the heart of the person, doesn't. אבל שיהיה ראוסא דליבה, הסלבוס לבבו דבקוסו בעניין שמחשב, in order to have a response in his heart, that his heart should react to that which he thinking about, what he's meditating about, עד שיהיה כולו בעניין דבוק מאוד בכל חושי גופו, until he will be completely attached to this knowing with the entire guf, even with his senses. It should become his experience, his reality. זה נקרא דאס. This is called das. This is the part of you that can make a concept real, that can bridge between a concept as a theoretical idea and a concept as that becomes a reality that is now the lens through which you experience everything. So what is causing this connection is the das, הוא גורם שיתחבר בחינת חוכמה לבינה. Das causes that there should be a connection between חוכמה and בינה, דהיינו שיגרום ברוב חוזק ההסבוננוס עד שיהיה בהבינה בחינת ראיית החוכמה כנ"ל. That means that we should be reflecting so deeply and trying in my mind to make it so real until there will be ראייה from חוכמה, there will come ראייה into בינה. And now the בינה, the understanding will be like seeing. ולכן בחינת זרע האדם, היינו נשמות שיש בהם בחינת הדס, שהוא הממשיך גילוי החוכמה וראייה בהסבוננות שיבוא לבחינת ומבשרי יחזה אלוקה ממש. And therefore, זרע האדם, נשמות זרע האדם, that means neshamos that do have das, to be able to make everything real, which das is mamshich the gilu of chokhmah and re'iyah into the isbonenus, into the understanding, that it should be b'msari yechazeh elokah mamash, which means it should be mamash experiential, as Tzipi calls it. This is the higher souls. Ma she'en ken kishe'en bo b'chinas das, which is not the case when we don't have das. And that's why we need a Rebbe. Because Rebbe, Moshe Rabbeinu, we began the discussion, ונתתי עשר בשדך לבבתך. Moshe Rabbeinu, the Rebbe has to give us עשר, to give us das. Das that will enable us to see. What is Esev? Esev is Ayin Beis with a Shin in the middle. Ayin Beis is Shem Ab, is in of Chochmah, is Re'iyah. In any case, lower neshamos, כשאין בו בחינת דאס הנ"ל, I'm almost finished. when we don't have the inyan of das, הממשיך גילוי החוכמה, that brings down the גילוי of חוכמה into בינה, אז הוא רק בבחינת שמיעה והבנה לבדה, מבחינת בינה דמקננה בבריאה. Then a person relates to God only in a manner of hearing and understanding, like through a concept. Bina, which is dwelling in בריאה. ועל כן נקרא זרע בהמה. And that's why it's called זרע בהמה. ואף שהבהמה אין לה גם שמיעה והבנה, הוא על דרך משל, שהרי הבהמה יש לה גם כן כוח המדמה. Even though the Indian of that is called זרע בהמה is just a mashal, we're not behemot, we're not actual animals, but there is a because an animal doesn't have das at all, doesn't have the mental process that Adam has, that we have. So how are we called זרע בהמה? But even a בהמה יש לה גם כן כוח המדמה. I'm on top of the left side. The behema also has a koach hamedameh, the ability to imagine something, or the animal can probably imagine the hay that he's going to eat, וכך השכל וההבנה באלוקוס, כשהוא רק בבחינת שמיעה לבד. So the animal has some kind of a mental idea, but it's very, very limited and not and misses the das of seeing the whole picture, of being attached to understand the reality of the whole picture. And therefore, even though he says the behema has some kind of a mental ability to imagine something, koach hamedameh, so in that sense, וכך השכל וההבנה באלוקוס, that in that sense, the sechel and the havana, the understanding of elokus, of the lower kind of a neshama, of biyah, that doesn't, zera behema, that doesn't have das, כשהוא רק בבחינת שמיעה לבד, when it is only in the level of a shmiya, I hear you. It's a concept, but it's not reality, it's not real. הרי זה כמו בחינת דמיון בעלמא. It's like imagination. So in that, it's like a behema. Behema also have an imagination in that sense, but it's just a dimion. It's not the real thing. V'nikra b'chinas kidmusenu. It's called kidmusenu. It's like in the image of. So it's not experience the real thing. It's just an image of the real thing. ועל זה נאמר היינו כחולמים. About this, when we wake up out of galus, we will say, oh, we were like dreaming. We were not in the real world. כמו בחלום, שאין נשאר הכוח המדמה. That it's like a dream. What is remaining from the whole mental ability to process things? What remains when a person sleeps? The only mental activity that remains is dreams. And dreams is not a whole full mental, logical process. The only thing that remains when he sleeps is koach hamedameh, the ability to shoot some images, imagination, that comes up in his dreams. That's it. He's not processing anything consciously. And so too, zera behema. We don't have the full process of internalizing. ואין מה שכתוב על פסוק זה, אבל בחינס אדם, however, נעשה אדם, בצלמנו זה בחינס זרע אדם, is בחינס ראייה. is like seeing, אך הנה בחינס דס, המחבר חוכמה ובינה, נקרא דס עליון. The das that connects between חוכמה and בינה is called the higher das, and also a lower das. יש בחינס דס תחתון, which is the connecting between the moichin into the midos. That we should also, the feelings, the proper feelings should be born. V'upnimius amidos. So the das tachton is also a bridge. Das is a bridge, a connector. And the das elyon is the connector between chokhmah and bina, and the das tachton in this case. And the das tachton is the connector between the moichin, the mind, and the heart. The mind and the midos, and the emotions. So this is another bridge that we need. And that's das tachton. And that's also das, it's a bridge. V'upnimius hamidos. That das, the awareness, the iskashrus to the awareness in the moichin, that bridge is the pnimius of the midos. It becomes now, the connection to that which we are aware of becomes now the soul of our feelings, of our midos. פנימיוס of our midos. ולחמן פירוש נתתי 10 מבואר גם כן בהמשך בחינס דאס תחתון נקרא אדם. So the נתתי 10 means that the Moshe Rabbeinu, the Rebbe, is also feeding us the das tachton, that it should be some re'iyah in this das tachton, that in the das tachton, in the neshamos of biyah, there should be also the reality of Adam, the ability to see, the ability to have chokhmah, the inyan of Adam, which is the reality of Atzilus. And that's what the neshamos of Rashi Bnei Israel are doing. Much more to talk about it. Now he's talking about how Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm encouraging you to continue, how Moshe Rabbeinu, alav shalom, he has a great koyach, the Rebbe says, to mamshich u'mashpia das b'knesses Israel, even in neshamos that are called zera be'ema, that they should have das and argasha be'elokus, ve'yadat ha'ayom, das elokei avicha. And this is the connector between Chokhmah and Bina. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu is called the faithful shepherd. He feeds and sustains Neshamos Israel by mashpia upon them and in them moach hadas, which feeds our emunah and our ability to make this emunah real. Anyhow, much more to learn and say about it. You can look it up by yourselves. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about the neshamos of Zera Adam and Zera Behema, so we'll have an idea. And now we'll be bringing back that this issue of the problem of Argashas Atzmo, that the Rebbe Rashab says that feeling oneself could lead to something which will be not good, this is only in the shamos of Zera Behema, the Rebbe says there. So from there we went off to see in Torah Or what the Alter Rebbe says, what is Zera Behema and what is Zera Adam.